We have a White Lives Matter organization. It's called the United States of America. Nobody in the United States. Stay mad. Oh, yeah. Let me hear it. I love it. Yep.
Beta! Beta!
I love it. I love it.
Testing, 1, 2, testing, testing. Testing, 1, 2. Can you guys hear me? Can you? Okay. Testing, 1, 2. Hey, everybody. If we can have everybody please take a seat. We're about to start in a few minutes. Can you get the people to take a seat?
I'm going to die watching this.
Hey, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Can you guys hear me in the back? Testing. Chris, can you tell people to have a seat? We're about to start. All right, guys, thank you for joining us at Bond's 2020 Election Town Hall. We got a great event lined up for you guys. Amazing panelists, moderated by Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. My name is Ermias.
I saw parts of this and I wanted to die. This is actually really bad. It's like 4 of you on. Destiny does pretty good, though.
For 30 years. Our mission is rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. So if you would, please, everybody turn off your cell phones. If you need the restroom, it's through that first door on your left, for those of you that don't know. Is there anyone here that has not signed the release form? Okay, great. So the panel discussion will last.
That's amazing. And then I want to hear from you guys about it. All right, we're going to have a hootenanny of a type and whatever. So thank you all for coming. Are we ready, Ernest?
Yeah, we're ready.
We are right now?
We're good, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Let's do this. So you all met the guests already?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Oh. Hey, Dallon.
Hey.
How are you?
Good.
Dallon, no man is good.
I'm well.
Thank you. Dallon sure says, never, never, ever, ever, never, never, ever, but never, ever, ever, ever tell a woman your problems.
Don't always stick to that.
I know you better. So right here, right next to me is Stephen Bonell, also known as Destiny. And the one thing I like about Destiny, he always shows up. He does not run from us. And he's a YouTube personality, Twitch streamer, and political commentary. Thank
No
you
COVID precautions at all, apparently.
I told you have a lot of nerves.
Should I be worried? What does that mean?
I don't know. No. Republicans are good.
Republicans
Joe
will not
Collins
hurt
is
you.
here, and he is a Republican candidate for Congress, 43rd District in California here, running against the Wicked Witch of the West with the low IQ, Maxine Waters.
Oh, you got that right.
And Maxine is on the run, too. She really, I have not seen anyone in the last 100 years, because I think she's been in there before I was born. And I've been around 71 years now. And this is the first guy that had Maxine Waters on the run. Sherman Perriman, yes, sir. CEO of Blackwall Technologies and graduate of Morehouse College. He's here. Thank you for coming, man.
Thank you.
Amazing. All right. Isn't that something? My friend Andrew is here. Not that the other guys are not my friend. I like them. Andrew Clavin is here. He's an award-winning author, screenwriter, and host of the Andrew Clavin Show on the Daily Wire. Thank you guys for coming. I do appreciate it. Amazing. So next Tuesday is Election Day, and it's going to be amazing, so get ready for it. All you potheads, roll up some extra joints. You're going to need them. You're going to need them. Are you for Joe Biden or the Great White Hope, Donald Trump?
I'm riding with Biden.
And why?
Because he's going to do a way better job than Trump has.
Amazing.
Like what?
Like everything. Managing the
JR.
coronavirus, foreign policy, domestic policy. What do you want to talk about?
Amazing. And Joe Biden or the Great White Hope, Donald Trump?
He's 71, by the way.
For Donald Trump.
And why?
Because we need to use his economic plan to rebuild the 43rd District.
Really?
Absolutely.
And he's going to do that?
No, I'm going to use this plan to rebuild the
you're gonna use
43rd
his
district.
plan
He's not
to-
going to do it himself. I'm going to use this plan so we can rebuild our own communities. We need it really bad. We
Guarantee they only say conspiracy theories. They don't say any facts at all. They're going to divert from all the questions.
We need economic development. Jobs are leaving. We're 43% below the poverty level, so we need a lot of improvement.
How would Trump help that?
His policies will.
In what way?
Well, he has the Platinum Plan, which is the $500 billion that he wants to invest into the community. We're going to use that. We're going to rebuild our community, rebuild our education system. Criminal justice reform, we're going to get innocent men out of prison, and we're going to expunge records so we can get people back to work. He got a lot of things that we can use to improve our district.
Right on. Joe Biden been in office for years, before you were born, before your mama was born.
Hey, what's up, Sarah?
What has he done?
I mean, he's got a lot of accomplishments as senator. What do you mean? I mean, we can
Don't
talk
say
about.
the wrong things.
Don't say the wrong things. He got an assault weapons ban that a lot of Democrats felt good about. He got provisions under the crime bill which protected women from domestic abuse. He had a lot of things that he helped Obama with. Like, I mean, what do you want to talk about?
So you can't think of anything he's done?
I just gave 2. He hasn't been president for 4 years.
Amazing. Thank God, huh? So, Sherman, are you for Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
I'm actually for neither. I'm the type of guy to just sit back and see what happens and just go with the flow from there.
Are you going to vote?
No, I'm not.
You're not going to vote?
No, sir.
What the?
I just don't participate in that.
Voting is for losers.
I just never have.
Really?
Yeah.
And why not?
Because of my beliefs, I'm more so like the kind of guy to just like stand back and just like try to achieve what I want to achieve for my people in a different kind of way. You know, I just really never thought that voting will do for
just
black
you wait.
people, you know, like we think that it will, because it never has.
It's way worse than you could ever
So
imagine.
you don't think either one of these guys could help improve black Americans' lives?
No, I feel like we have to basically improve our lives ourselves first, you know, and get people like, you know, that are progressive in our community to actually help out first before we go to anyone else and try to get them to help us.
Can I say something real
So
quick?
let me just finish. 1 minute. I'll let you say. What is it that y'all want? I mean,
mean,
what do you
well-
want? What kind of help y'all need?
Well, we need opportunities.
Well, he's doing that
How?
by bringing more money into the community, job opportunities. and
Job
all that.
opportunities where?
Well, before the Chinese virus, they were everywhere.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, it's easy to say that from the outside looking in, but when you're actually like in the field, you really don't see the opportunities that people think about
Oh, I
that
see.
they say are actually there.
Okay.
You know, because I've been in South Central ever since I was a child, and I don't see any opportunities, nothing at all, and it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, Maxine Waters.
I mean, whoever it is, it's just.
I hate the guy on the right, by the way. The bald guy on the far right.
You saying that? I mean, that's cool, but then
I
that
forget his
also,
name, but he works for the
you know,
Daily Wire,
that's me
or he
stand
used to.
firm in my belief that politics was never the way and it never helped us.
Oh, okay.
Like, we're the only people or class of people that actually depend on politics. Like the Chinese don't, the Indians don't, the Hispanics are trying to get them to, but they really don't.
Yeah.
Like, we're the only minority class.
Very
that's just like,
enlightened
hey,
non-voter.
your vote matters,
This guy
your
is.
vote can change your life. But in the meantime, you have, you know, Koreatown, you have big banks and, you know, buildings and, you know, Chinatown. You have, you know, where's Africatown in L.A.?
That's true.
Like, we don't have anything like that. We don't
Africatown.
have no skyscrapers.
That's
We've been
true.
here for hundreds of years, and the Koreans come here and they're building skyscrapers
Oh,
in
he
LA.
hates the Koreans,
And we don't
okay.
have anything.
Amazing. What were you about to say?
If in fact, because I feel like we bonded in the back, right? We talked, we had great conversation.
Yeah.
If in fact that you open up your ballot and my name is on there, just check it and drop it in. That's all I'm saying. I'll build a skyscraper
That's
and put
right.
your name on. Just check Joe Collins, just drop it. You don't got to vote for anybody else, just me. Just throwing it out there.
That's right. Promote. Andrew, who are you for, Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
Oh, I'm for Trump all the way. I came here 4 years ago, and you and I got into it, and I was against Trump, and you were for him.
Yeah.
Everything, single thing you said turned out to be true.
I rest my case.
Oh, this is so cringy. I want them to pan over the crowd. The crowd looks terrible.
Yes.
I would never want to be in a crowd like this, especially right now during COVID.
This is a crisis.
His mic's off right now. Come on, turn your mic on, idiot.
Is that it? Go ahead.
No, it should be on.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, make sure it's green.
Now it's on.
Okay.
you know, it's a tough crisis, but it's a crisis everywhere. It's a crisis all through Europe. It's a crisis everywhere that it's hit, and so it's a crisis here as well. But who are you going to trust to bring the economy back? It came roaring back in this last quarter. He has made our foreign policy sane again after the absolute insanity of the Obama era.
Oh yes, completely sane foreign policy out of Trump.
The left has gone nuts. I mean, most importantly, the Democrats are now
left has
a
gone
fully
nuts.
socialist, anti-constitutional party.
Fully
They don't
socialist
like the First
Joe
Amendment,
Biden.
They don't like the Second Amendment. They don't like the Electoral College. They want to pack the courts. And then they say, well, Donald Trump is a danger to the Constitution. And I think, which part of the Constitution do you like? You know, what are you trying to protect?
Yeah.
You know, Trump, I still will maintain that Trump has a lot of problems.
Like what?
Well, he's rude. His biggest problem for me, because I care more about policy than anything, is that he won't reform entitlements, and he has promised not to reform entitlements. I think they need to be reformed.
Oh, you heard
I think
yesterday too.
Entitlements were put in place
XOZ,
to kick in at
Zazie,
65 when people died at 63.
Zazie.
And now people live to about 80. And I think that means you can move
That was
up
all right
when
yesterday.
they start to pay out and solve the entire problem for a generation.
Yeah.
And I just I think
Zazie.
that that's something Trump is not engaged with. There's no appetite for it. There's no
Well,
political
he'll do
appetite.
that next year.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
You think he's going to win?
The war
Kyle
going
Rittenhouse?
up.
You think he's going to win?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
He's going to win by a landslide. No, well, who said that?
That's not good though.
Uh,
By the way, if Rittenhouse gets charged worse, like if he gets a worse crime initially, that's not good. Because if the crime that he got charged with is worse than what they're gonna settle on, it just makes it easier for them to nullify all the charges if it's something that's too extreme. So I think double homicide is not good if we want to get him for something.
You disagree with Andrew.
In so many ways. I don't even know where to start.
Count the ways.
Let's do the First Amendment. Do you think that American citizens that burn the flag should have their citizenship revoked?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. That's something that Donald Trump has said multiple times. He said it in 20.
Donald Trump says a lot of things, and when I criticize him, that's what I criticize
God,
him
I hate
about.
that defense.
He has a big mouth.
He has
But,
a big mouth.
You know, that's
Only
one
thing
of
I
the
don't
things you
like.
learn to live with.
So as somebody that does like political commentary, do you realize how frustrating it is that every stupid thing Donald Trump says, you can hand wave that away? It's just Donald Trump talking.
It's also frustrating that when he puts on a tie, you guys go out into hysterics over it. No matter
When he puts on a what?
If he says good morning, you say, well, is it good morning everywhere? You know,
We don't-
every single thing he said has been a crisis
Cringe.
since the guy took office, and most of that stuff never happened. There was no Russian collusion for 3 years. We had to sit and
I don't know
listen
why
to
we're.
Well, I'm
Calm
just
down, Ben
I'm just
Shapiro.
saying-
Okay, hold on.
No.
Let's just very simply. Okay. So First Amendment. So he says he wants to revoke citizenship for people that burn the flag. He attacks private businesses and tell them that they should fire people for being critical of his administration. With Kaepernick, he did that. That doesn't worry you at all? That doesn't seem like an overstep of what the president ought to be doing for somebody that values freedom of expression? He didn't, but he called on the NFL to do it.
You should have fired him.
In Colin Kaepernick's defense,
fired.
he sucked before he got put out the
That
NFL.
is, first
Just
of all,
saying.
that's not true.
Yes,
By
it is.
any
His
measure.
stats are going down.
That is
He's a
absolutely
terrible
not true.
quarterback.
That is absolutely not true. But
Colin
that's
Kaepernick got
that's,
sacked 28 times, and he
That is-
had a 30% completion rate. He was going down the drain.
Being sacked is a bad offensive line.
I'm not going to argue NFL stats. It's just not true. You can go look him up if you care to.
We can't find him.
I'm just curious for somebody that has attacked the First Amendment more than I can remember any president in my lifetime doing. So whether that's Colin Kaepernick being fired, whether that's saying that people that burn the flag should have their citizenship revoked, whether that's saying that they should open up libel and defamation suits against the media, the president of the United States, continuously undermining and attacking our media institutions, revoking press badges from the White House. I just don't understand how you have this guy
None of
and you
that-
say this is what.
Not one of those things that you mentioned is a threat to the First Amendment.
What does the First Amendment mean to you?
well, it means that the government has no right to restrict what
And
I
who is
say.
Trump?
But how has he restricted anybody?
Trump. First of all, he
But
revoked.
can I just stop? Can I stop you for 1 second? One of the frustrating things about this is that Donald Trump is a great big American character with great big American flaws, and I get it, and I understand that. And I don't want to sit here and defend flaws, and I understand we could go back and forth. The important thing is the policy and the philosophy of the administration that's going on, and that's the sort of thing that never gets talked about. You say Trump said this, and I get it. I'm not going to argue with you. He's got a big mouth, but I could go back to with Biden, 47 years of venality.
president.
And
He just has a big
stupidity
mouth.
and-
It's not a big
and
deal.
lies. I could go back to, and we could go back and forth with that. But where does that get us? The question is, do we believe in constitutional governance? And do we believe in individual freedom? And everything that the government does when it expands
God, I hate these
diminishes
arguments.
individual freedom. And so what I'm looking at is a guy, for instance, and again, this is not about Trump's character, and it's not about Biden's character. We had this massive crisis, this Chinese flu. I remember Rahm Emanuel saying, never let a crisis go to waste, meaning this is a good time to scare people into having big government. Donald Trump has resisted every call for a federal program or a new federal bureaucracy to deal with this.
And watched 250,000 Americans, disproportionately black, mind you, die as a result of it. Do you think that's a champion? Do you think
I
that's a
do not
positive
think
thing?
that is not why they died. And 40% of them died in Democrat states run by governors who put
Democrat
people
states.
into rest homes.
If only we had a head executive that maybe could have stopped that. They might have been a Democrat state, but they're in a Republican-ran country. Donald Trump is the chief executive.
Listen,
Why does he have no responsibility for anything?
I'm not saying he has no responsibility for anything. He didn't do any. He's not a disease.
He didn't
bring
do
the
anything.
disease.
I agree. That's his main criticism, is that he did nothing.
No,
He sat and
hear me
watched
out,
the country burn.
Hear me out. So, at least we're arguing about the same thing.
The liberals burned it.
Here it is.
Under Trump's watch.
Wait.
Okay, so as a small business owner myself, and somebody with a little bit of corporate and business experience, it drives me crazy because you guys had Trump
The
come in
liberals burned
with this
it.
whole slogan about he's going to run things like a business, blah blah blah. So I don't know how many of you guys have business experience, but if you're a supervisor and your manager comes down on you and he says, "Hey, what's going on here?" If you start pointing out employees that messed up, like, "Oh, well, that guy messed up, that guy," you're going to get fired. It's your job.
Running it like a business, by the way, a report came out. There were secret clips. It's on David Pakman's channel that Trump actually was making like business decisions. Like, okay, how many lives are we going to trade for political advantage? Basically, like, okay, I'll give the doctors 100,000 people dead, and we could, open up certain stores or whatever. So he was treating it like a businessman, and businessmen do bad things for people, for their workers, and for their, the consumers. It's not like a good thing to be a
as a
businessman or run a
supervisor to
government.
manage your workers.
Exactly.
So why is it that Trump came in? Trump came in.
So we can say that the governors for each individual states had the obligation to manage that state, which they didn't.
And who is their boss?
So when Trump
Who is
came
their
in,
leader?
when Trump
Who's
came
their
in and said,
boss?
"Hey, we need to employ federal troops into each individual states," that liberals, mind you, left-wing white kids were destroying, they said, "No, we don't want your help."
I'm not talking
That's not
about the
the same
BLM
conversation.
protests that killed
No, we're
a
not
dozen
talking-
people.
I'm not talking about
talking
them
about the
either.
coronavirus
I'm
that killed
talking about-
250,000 plus Americans. That's what I'm
mind you, the
talking about right now.
CDC updated the website and said the majority of the people who died from coronavirus had 2 or 3 major pre-existing conditions, which contributed
Which
to
is
their
all the
deaths.
more
what
reason
the
why we
study
should have been
said.
more
And
careful.
let's not even
That's
talk
all
about.
the more reason why we should have been more
Let's
careful
not
about
even
it.
talk about the mismanagement of the virus. Okay, people were getting killed. I had a guy get shot, gunshot wound to the chest. He died from coronavirus. How is that even plausible? Car accident, coronavirus. How is that plausible? So let's talk about the amount of misinformation that we're getting from every facet of government organizations, including.
This is like Facebook conspiracy theory level stuff right here. Like, oh, someone died in a car crash and they said it was COVID because the hospitals pay out more money. I know people that work in hospitals. The hospitals aren't doing this to get more money. They aren't faking COVID deaths as a result of this. We know what the actual death numbers are in all of the United States. The excess death numbers right now are basically up from what we're expected for this year by around the COVID death number. So like we have stats that back up that all this bullshit's like it's not true at all.
The CDC in every single hospital that has been lying because you get $35,000 per bed, $15,000 per respirator, and people are dying from gunshot wounds to the chest, domestic violence, alcohol-related incidents. We get gunshot
So
violence.
do you
all
think the
these
majority
things.
of the coronavirus deaths are fake in the United States? Is
I
that what you're
think
saying?
the majority-
I want
the
you to answer that.
majority-
Do you think the majority of those deaths are fake?
The majority of the people who have died from the coronavirus is not reflective of what they've been talking about. That's
What
why
is it
they-
reflective of?
It's reflective of misinformation to
Mis-
scare
what kind of
people.
misinformation?
Let me ask you a question. How come they never talk about the recovery rate?
We're not talking-
99.9% recovery rate, right? 99.9
There's
or
the Facebook timeline.
say 200,000 people did die, 99.8% recovery rate, right? A contraction rate of 0.00178. They never talk about that. They talk, oh, this many people died, this many people contracted it, this many people died, but they never talk to pre-existing conditions. Why? Because they want to scare you into wearing all of these things.
Do you think America is the only country with citizens
You
that
know
have
what?
pre-existing conditions for coronavirus?
Let me tell you
Why is it
another
that when we
thing.
look at other states, like if we look at other countries like
Hey,
Australia
let me
or
do
New
this.
Zealand or South Korea or
Hey,
Vietnam,
hey.
any of them? Wait,
Let's
I don't
take-
understand. I don't
let's
understand. We can make so many
let's take the Middle East,
excuses.
for example,
Hey,
right?
hold on, hold
Where's
on.
your face mask?
Students.
The Middle East been wearing face masks since Jesus Christ was walking this earth, right? But they still have
For the
to
record,
wear-
I was the only person here that came in with a face mask. So
Because
don't
you
even
were-
start,
you were the
okay?
only
I
person-
took it off. I took it off to be nice on stage because we've all seen
What?
each other. I figure we're
If I
safe.
cough,
Okay,
you
you got,
wear-
hey, let's do this. Just for the record, you're not the only one.
Okay, sure. Of these guys, maybe
No,
they walked in wearing them.
your
but sure.
girlfriend wore one.
Okay, thank
She
you.
wore a mask.
Okay, thank you.
She's like,
So,
I don't understand why Republicans.
So let me do this.
I don't understand why conservatives say that America
Let me
can do
do
the
this.
best, America can do the greatest things, we can accomplish all these things, but when it comes to the coronavirus, it's just a huge box of excuses for our massive ineptitude after ineptitude for dealing with this virus. Either the stats are fake, we're the only people.
Biden is the best presidential candidate, knowing that one, he has a mental degenerative disease right now, and two, he has created the policy that encouraged the mass incarceration.
Notice how they don't confront any point directly. It's constant pivoting. They don't actually have to talk about anything because they could just say buzzwords instead.
Of blacks and Latinos, 338 pages of it, which gave block grants and cash incentive to states that throw people in prison for accusations of a
You mean
crime
that same crime bill?
even having proof that a crime has been
That
committed.
same crime bill that was supported by black senators, by black leaders at the time in the entire country, the 90s,
the
when
same
crime was at an
crime bill,
all-time violent
It
high.
was
That
not
same
at
crime.
an all-time high. It was at an
It was
all-time
out
low.
in the
Okay,
90s.
time
In the
out.
90s? That is
Hey, guys.
absolutely
Attack
not
black
true.
people.
Hey,
It's
Eric.
absolutely not true.
I need a bill.
Let's create this bill. Attack
I need
black
my
people.
little
And
wacky
who wants to
thing.
get rid of it now? Who won't acknowledge
do
that?
this.
Who's saying that the Central for Park 5 kids should have been hung
person who don't
after
wanna
they were
get rid of it-
exonerated?
the
That
person
was
who don't
Donald
wanna get
Trump,
rid of the
not Joe
crime bill
Biden.
It's Joe Biden and people like
Shut
you.
up. Excuse me. Peace
What
in the
are you
middle.
lying about? What do you think I'm
Hold
lying
on,
about?
hold on. No.
It's not.
Don't argue with the audience yet.
I think I know
Hold
plenty
on,
about what
guys.
we're talking about. We can
So-
talk about the 94 crime bill all day long. Sorry, I'm sorry.
The president, can you hear me out there? Oh, the president is so tough, he conquered the Chinese virus. He conquered
Just had a
it.
record number of cases
He
reported
like,
yesterday. Jack.
he
You're killing
like,
me.
amazing. So let me ask, are you paying attention to politics at all?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are saying that Joe Biden is winning. The polls are saying that the same thing they did with Lion Crook and Hillary. They're saying that Joe Biden is winning, but everybody and their mama showing up at the rallies for Donald Trump, and nobody, maybe one or two people in a truck, show up for Joe Biden.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, when it comes to statistics, you could also screw the statistics to have it see like whatever you want to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I take a survey in this room and I say how many people in here are for Donald Trump or Joe Biden, obviously it's going to be for Donald Trump. Then I'll come out with a poll and say, oh, Trump is winning.
Right.
So it's just a concentrated group of people that are going to take the polls. And like, is Donald Trump's people polling at all?
So
Do we
you
know that?
believe what you hear?
That guy in the middle right here is an actual candidate for office.
That is Joe Biden over Trump?
I really don't believe anything that the news says.
Oh, I
to
don't
be
believe
honest,
it.
like, I mean, it's just like it's statistics.
Yeah.
You know, it could always be misconstrued.
Do you believe the post that Joe Biden is winning over Trump?
No,
You know, and why not?
because the polls lied about Hillary Clinton, and then
Polls
they
lied.
came out with a survey
They
that
lied.
said. Well, the question they asked was, do you answer questions to get the answer that you want? And the answer was yes. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah. How about you? Do you believe the post that Joe Biden is beating out Trump?
Absolutely. For anybody that
What
doesn't
the-
believe me, hey, if anybody wants to, if you guys are so confident, I'll give you 2-to-1 on your money, $20, $100, whoever wants to bet, I'll gladly do it. Gentlemen in the back, talk me after and we'll do it. Anybody that wants to bet on it, 100% I'll bet on it. If you're so confident that the polls are wrong, put $20 on it. Sure.
Andrew, do you believe that,
So Vosh went to Tim Pool and Destiny went this direction. Really interesting.
that Joe Biden is beating out Trump right now?
I don't believe it's anywhere near what the polls are saying. I have to tell you, what you mentioned is what is really confusing me. The polls, see, I'm a little bit gun-shy because I believed that the polls were wrong about Obama in his re-election, and he won. And he won according to pretty much what the polls said. The polls were wrong about Hillary Clinton, but only because they were looking in all the wrong places. Their methods were still good. What I think has happened now is we've got a press that is completely corrupt. I've never seen, I was a reporter.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. There's very few people who are qualified to be politicians. Do you know if you take one college level econ class, you have a better economic training than I think 70% of Congress?
Started out as a newspaperman. I started out as a newspaperman in a small town with some guys who went on to become some of the biggest newspapermen in the country. Back then, liberal reporters would yell at you if you were too liberal. They would yell at you if you were biased. Our newspapers, our TV stations they lie, and they lie to support Democrat policies. And so it's really, really difficult to know where the truth lies. Right. I see the same thing you see. I see Joe Biden, who does have a degenerative mental disease. You can see it if you just go back 4 years and look at an old YouTube video and look at him now. Something terrible is happening to the guy. If I were Joe Biden, I would get him off the campaign trail.
I'm
True.
surprised his wife would do that.
I feel the same way. But I have to say, I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I believed the evidence in my own eyes, but I am nervous because I was wrong about the polls in Obama's reelection.
Oh, okay. The first time around.
Wait, did he say he thought Obama was going to lose re-election? How much of an idiot how dumb do you have to be? An incumbent president that popular was going to lose an election to Mitt Romney. Oh my God, this guy's a special level of dumb.
You and I, did we bet each other? Do you owe me a lunch?
No, no. I would take, because you're you, I would take you to lunch, but,
That's Ben Shapiro owed me lunch.
oh, Shapiro lost thousands of dollars.
So now he can't afford to take me to lunch.
They told us on the Daily Wire election coverage night, they said, no predictions. And I thought, yeah, because Shapiro doesn't want to lose any more money.
That's right. So the Rashman poll report shows that black support for President Trump is 31%. Just 5
What?
days before
No, it
the
isn't.
election. And good
31%?
news, just before I left home this afternoon, I heard that Lil Wayne
Oh God.
is supporting the president now. I just finished having lunch with the president. I'm like, what the? What do you think about that? The black people loving Donald Trump.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm not black.
Plus you're
Get that out of the
white.
way. But I'm pretty sure that the lived experience right now of Lil Wayne is probably not in line with the average black American.
True.
My guess. I'm guessing the average black American is not a millionaire rapper that lives like an upper class lifestyle.
But they feel like one when they see him.
Yeah, but I don't think you feel like one when you go home at night and you can't put food on the table, you can't pay your bills, you have a shit
But you
job or
also
no
have
job.
those other
Thank
black
you,
rappers
Destiny.
coming out. 50 Cent.
Thank you.
Yeah, they
Dan.
say that they don't want to pay higher taxes.
But they're supporting the president.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay higher taxes. These guys are millionaires.
Does that make you nervous knowing that 31% of blacks are now supporting him?
I'm not, no matter what happens this election, I'm fine. Either Biden wins and I get to gloat, or Trump wins and I save more on my taxes than most Republicans make in a year. So, I mean, either way, it's a win-win for me. I don't care. If you guys want to vote for people like me to have tax cuts while your kids can't go to good schools, I mean, hey, that's on you. I don't really care at the end of the day.
White
right?
privilege.
Yeah, call you.
Smart
call it out, see it.
investments.
And so you don't believe the polls, or you do believe them?
I think the polls are pretty on. I think the polls were pretty on in 2016. A lot
About
of people
the-
don't know that.
about
I think
the
a lot of-
blacks?
Yeah, sure. The polls say, yeah.
They were pretty
People do
accurate
a
in
lot of work for that
2016.
stuff.
It was the
Does that
pundits that
make
got it
you
wrong.
sweat knowing that black people supported Republicans?
Not. I mean, a lot of people in this country support a lot of people. People can support whoever they want to support.
But normally you don't get that many blacks, right?
I mean, it's a
For the
Rasmussen poll, so I'd have to look at like an aggregate of other polls as well. But I mean, black
Amazing.
unemployment was low under Trump, right? That's the single stat that he wheels out over and over and over again to brag about what he's done for black communities. So
Amazing. Do you believe the polls at 31%?
No, I don't. I think it should be a little higher because there's a lot of black people that support President Trump, especially like that come into my office in the inner city. So
Yeah.
I can't think that the polls are correct. It should be up a little bit more, but we'll see what happens when the election comes around.
They're afraid to tell it because not only will they hear it from their family members, they'll be attacked by other black people if they say, I'm voting for Donald Trump. Is that true?
I don't
You
know.
agree with that?
Yeah.
And why do you agree with it?
Well, it's because we never had the freedom to think, you know.
Oh, I love this guy.
Every
we never
man
had the
deserves
freedom
peace
to
of mind.
think. I'm not voting for either side. I just found out politics are corrupt. I just found out right now politics are corrupt.
Like, you know, like say if, like, cause I don't really support anybody, but I just put the truth out there. So if I put up a post on Facebook about Trump, it's like, you're a Trump supporter. I'm like, nah, it's just the truth, you know? And I talk about Biden and his crime bill, how like, you know, thousands, I'm not sure, but a lot of minorities got incarcerated due to his 1994 crime bill, and that is a fact. And if I put out that fact, it's like, oh, you're for Donald Trump, or you're for this, or you're for that. But it's like I'm really an independent, and I just press the truth, you know? But then it's just like, if I was for Donald Trump, what's wrong with that? There's people that don't talk to their family members over it, and, you know, it's just like, I just really don't like the way black people are just like forced to vote Democrat. I feel like
Hey, I'm not black, and I don't talk to my family members because they vote Trump. So
we should be free enough, which we are, to like think how we want to think, vote for whoever we want to vote for and go from that. Because it's like Lil Wayne, you just mentioned him. Now that he's endorsed Trump, which he really endorsed the Platinum Plan, and Trump is the only president to ever have a plan for black people.
Oh, yes.
Period.
The Platinum Plan's bullshit,
So it's
by the
like,
way. It's literally just
is he
freaking
really
loans.
endorsing Trump, or is he like, man, he has something in it for me? I never even got this from a black president who's been president for 8 years. Because I remember the exact moment when they said that Barack Obama would be president. I was living. I'm like, damn, okay, something's about to happen. Nothing happened. And so now that Trump has a Platinum Plan, and it's like, even if he's lying or whatever, if he, nobody knows what's to come, but at least we have something to hold him accountable to.
Yep.
And if black people want to support that, then I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of blacks are afraid to say that they vote for Donald Trump. Not only will they be attacked by Antifa and Black Lives Matter, but their own family members some family member would attack them. Do you believe the polls when it says that 31%?
I'm with Joe. I think it's higher. Since I talked about where I was wrong before, I predicted this almost immediately after Trump's election. I said that, I don't think black people tell their mothers that they're going to vote for Trump. I really don't. And the smartest thing that Donald Trump ever said was when he turned to a black audience and said, what do you got to lose?
Yeah.
Because all this talk about what's happening, the lived experience of black people in poverty, and there are bad outcomes in black communities, that's been going on under Democrat governance and with Democrat programs in place.
We will hold
when
Trump
you go back
accountable.
And look at the history of the black rise into the middle class. It's sped up with the passage of the Civil Rights Act and then fell down dead
What?
with the passage of the Great Society.
Oh, God, that's
program
such a misunderstanding
that
of history.
financed
Holy
basically illegitimacy,
God.
which is one of the biggest problems in all poor communities. And
What do you mean by illegitimacy?
people being born being raised without fathers. in the
Okay.
home.
Oh,
the
yes,
welfare
it's the,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
issue.
welfare system
We
paid
found
for
it, guys.
that.
That's the issue.
Also,
It's the black
creates
fathers.
A terrible dependency, a sense that I can get by.
It's that
without
easy.
having to do anything, and it
They just
is a
leave.
huge,
They just choose to
huge
leave,
source of money and patronage to the Democrat Party, and so that's why nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever argues about it. Everybody says, well, if you don't think this is because of racism, you must be a racist. And I think, no, I just think these policies stink. I think this Great Society policies stink, and they have been a boot on the head of not just black people, but black people and poor people around the country.
That's one of the reasons that the Democratic Party are trying to draw the Hispanic into the party, because a lot of blacks are starting to leave it. They're starting to wake up.
Yeah, I think that's
They're starting small businesses, and they
Well, exit.
realize these taxes are out of the roof and
It's
through
working.
the roof, and it's hard for them. So they're becoming more educated as to what the Democratic Party is doing. That guy, the rapper that endorsed Donald Trump, what's his name? No, the other one,
50 Cent?
Ice-T.
Oh.
He said that he has some type of plan. Ice-T? I knew it had something to do with ice. He said,
Trump got 8% of the black vote in 2016, which that's a good number considering. I mean, that's a good number of people that are black that voted for Trump.
that ice water, ice tea, doesn't matter. But he had a plan, as he said, for the black votes. He presented the plans to both parties, and the Democrats ignored it. The Republicans were the only one that responded to it. So that meant a lot to him, and I think to a lot of other black people.
Yeah, the Great Society programs are just a font of money for the Democrat Party and patronage for the Democrat Party, and they don't want to let them go.
Yeah. What do you think happened to black people that they? What do you think happened to black? Who yelled at me? You're fired. What do you think happened to black people that they stopped thinking for themselves, doing for themselves, and gave themselves over to the so-called black leaders and the white liberal leaders in the Democratic Party? It wasn't that way when I was growing up. It only happened when the Civil Rights Movement happened. What happened to them?
Well, what way was it when you were growing up?
We thought for ourselves. We did for ourselves. We did
Well,
not
that's
have
because of
leaders.
that was
We
because
had
of segregation, though, right? You grew up
No, because of character. We got along with the white folks.
Come on, you grew up in Alabama.
I
right?
grew up in Alabama.
Alabama during the Jim Crow, right?
Yeah.
So say that's segregation. So I talk to a lot of elders, which are, around your age, in the 70s,
I'm not an
right?
elder.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's just say.
I am living forever.
Well, let's just say, like, I'll speak to a few of them, and they'll say that it was better when things were segregated, and that's because we were forced to basically do for self.
Right.
You know, so it's like when segregation is over, and now instead of seeing like black banks in the neighborhoods and like a black club and all of this other stuff, you see corporate America just all inside of the inner city and inside of the neighborhoods. Back in the day, it's like, if y'all want to eat, y'all have to come up with your own restaurant. And I feel like that's the difference between, like, you know, what
That
you
did
saw
help a
growing
lot,
up.
yeah.
But it's
But
that's
what I
it
want
is.
you to
That's
know is
capitalism,
that
though.
we did hang out with other white people too, because all white people were not for the Jim Crow laws. That was done by the Democrats, and they didn't want black people in the party. At that time, most black people were Republicans. Even Martin Luther King and others were Republicans at the time they started this whole civil rights movement.
Right.
No such thing as civil rights, by the way. But they made a deal with the Democrats, the so-called black leadership. They said, the Democrats were like, okay, if you give us the blacks, we'll give them welfare. They will vote for us. And the black leadership said, okay, well, if you let us rule them, become their leaders, we have a deal. So they made the deal that the blacks would be the leaders of the folks, and the Democrats will own them. That's
Right.
what
And
happened.
but it's like with anything, if you create a dependency on somebody, they'll always be your
Absolutely.
master. You know,
That's
so
right.
it's like, if whoever has the goal makes the rules, and if you're paying me, I'm gonna follow you.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, shit. If you black, it's
Did
hard
you
enough
say
to
shit?
get. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, but you know,
Are you
like
a millennial?
Amazing. Yeah, I'm me. I'm sorry, but
That's all right. I'm used to it.
but it's like
say it everywhere now.
But
you're
it's
right,
like it's
whoever
already
owns
it's
you,
already
buys you,
tough
owns you.
if you're a black man in America anyway. So it's like you
JLP
kinda
is a
want
genius,
something to
dude.
lean back on,
Don't
because
disrespect
it's
him.
not guaranteed that you'll get a job here or a job there. You know, like you might get laid off. You're tired of dealing with this type of boss. You're being discriminated against. So it's like, okay, look, if y'all struggling or whatever, we're going to create something to give you while you're struggling. You know, and this is during the time where, like, white people in America, they had homes, they had retirement. You know, we couldn't even buy homes. We were redlined. We couldn't have
Where
any.
you over in South Central, you couldn't buy homes?
I mean, but like, say my grandfather.
Because
when he-
all my folks bought homes, they own land.
I'm talking
and when
about
they left Alabama,
generational
they
wealth.
went to Indiana and
Like,
bought more land.
you have to remember, these homes, like, say the homes that my grandparents bought in L.A., it was built in 1925, and that's when it was like all white. Like in South Central, people are gang banging, killing each other.
Yeah.
That was all white back in the day.
Yeah.
So who bought the house in 1925? A white man. 20 years later, well, let's say 30 years later, my grandparents bought a house. So that's wealth transferred down.
Right.
You know, and they might have sold the house and moved to Brentwood or something like that. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
So it's like they went from an apartment from their parents not having nothing to them now getting up on their feet, but they have to play catch up.
Really?
Yeah.
Y'all better buy some land right now, right?
Yeah, just buy land.
We do
That's
have
the
to-
Interest
answer.
rates today are 2.8%.
It's that easy. Just buy up all the
Buy a
land.
house. And while the liberals are on the run, they're running away from the Chinese virus, go and buy the land, and when they come back, we'll own it. All right? Don't run. So are you concerned about voter fraud? The Democrats want them to mail in their ballots.
You got to
They
buy
want
land.
early
You got to
voting
go
and all
into
this
the
crap. Are you concerned about
buy a few
voter
acres.
fraud?
As a candidate, no. And the reason why is because I got Democrats voting for me too. We've done a pretty good job of running a very solid campaign. We got a lot of support from everybody.
I am not worried about voter fraud because I have Democrats voting for me too. They are the ones that do the voting fraud. Republicans are clean politicians.
I'll be concerned about voter fraud if I lose, and then I'll be like, it's voter fraud, and then we'll have to do a
There you
recount and pay
go.
for that. But for right now, no, I'm not worried about voter fraud. I can't worry about voter fraud. I have to worry about creating new voters, gaining more support, and getting more people to vote for me regardless of political party preference.
It's already being reported that people throwing ballots away and
As long as they don't throw mine away, I don't care. Like, I just need the most numbers at the end of the day.
Oh, okay. Are you concerned about that, Dustin?
No, I'm not concerned at all.
Why not?
Because I don't think any voter fraud happens in the United States in any measurable way.
Are you on pot? What's
You know, in 2016, Trump put together a commission to look for voter fraud and election fraud in the United States, and he didn't find either. He disbanded it with no results.
No, they found some.
Nope, they didn't.
Didn't they find some voter
No,
fraud?
recently, there were like 13 ballots that got tossed because they weren't filled out properly. But
Recently?
the idea, yeah, within the past few months, I think. I don't remember what state it was. But the idea that there's some
Are
like,
you in
widespread...
denial about this?
I'm not. Are you going to be in denial on election night if Democrats win the
I'm a-
House, the Senate, the executive branch? Right?
They're not.
What if they do, though? Do you think
They
it's going to be
won't.
If they do you think it's voter
They
fraud?
won't. There is no.
Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by
I'm
3
going to
million
be
votes.
dancing on the ceiling. Oh, what a feeling. We were dancing on the ceiling.
So
I
what do
want to
you,
hear his internal dialogue. Or maybe he's one of those people that just doesn't have any. His head is just empty. He doesn't
if
think.
he doesn't win?
JLP.
There
Because
isn't-
Trump doesn't have an answer either.
there
That's
is-
also a First Amendment
because
issue
there
that
is
worries
no
me, is that
if. There is no if.
There is no if. It's
If
inconceivable to
the
you.
fraud hadn't jumped, he wouldn't have broke his. No.
Okay. I hope you have a friend with you on election night, just in case.
Are you concerned about voter fraud?
Concerned, but not overly concerned.
And why not?
Because we always get overly panicked. As it's a talking point every election, and it's never as bad. Sorry?
What?
It's never as bad as they say it is. I do think that the Democrats get a point on it every time.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably going to happen again. But I'm pretty
But
confident.
didn't
it'll
they
be-
have some type of elections, local elections in some of these states around town, around the country, and they had some issue with voter
No,
fraud?
there was voter fraud last time. There were people being
Yeah.
bussed into various places, the same people being bussed into various places,
Yeah.
voting. You know, but there always is voter fraud. But I'm just saying, if it's incredibly close, it's going to the courts anyway. You know, it's going to go to the courts, and then I kind
Yeah, that's Destiny. Vosh went to Tim Pool, and Destiny went to JLP.
of have confidence it'll be straightened out. I'm worried about it, but I'm not paralyzed with fear.
Why do you think the Democrats want early mail-in ballots
Because
as
they
opposed
always
to
they
the
cheat.
Republicans?
They cheat. I mean, you know,
They cheat.
Yeah, the stories of Lyndon Johnson walking through graveyards, picking names off and saying it's unfair if the dead don't get to vote.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that when you look at how we approach voting in the United States, the Republican chief operating procedure is to make as few people vote as possible. I always think it's interesting when Republicans talk about voting, they're always trying to restrict who can vote, whether it's voter ID, whether it's gerrymandering, whether it's restricting when we can mail in our votes, whether it's no absentee ballot voting, even
True.
if Trump himself or other military people relied on it. I think it's really interesting that Republicans' mode of operation here is always to get as few people voting as possible, and that's been the way that they've tried to
And
win
I'm in favor.
narrow
I'm in
elections.
favor of that as well. I'm in favor of people voting if they're responsible, if they know what they're doing. I think that we should restrict voters to people who pay taxes so they have some skin in the game. I don't think the idea that you need a driver's license.
Let's bring back poll taxes. Let's bring back the testing for literacy, where they had black people. They got those jars with 1,000 M&Ms in there, and they told the black people hey, guess the number of peanuts in the jar. And if the black person got the number wrong, they said, hey, sorry, you can't vote. You didn't pass the test. Bring that back.
ID to vote is voter restriction. I need ID to buy liquor. You know.
Buying liquor is not a constitutional right, and it's not a fundamental underpinning of our government, though. Whether or not you go out and buy liquor is inconsequential to the
That's all
existence
the
of
more
United
reason why you
States.
should need identification. Why
Sure,
there should be security.
Because it's a guaranteed right to. You need a really good reason to put a roadblock up between somebody that wants to exercise arguably the most important thing they can do in the United
It's
States, which
solely
is
a
have a say.
guarantee right for people who are citizens of the United States. That's all.
That's all I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about illegals voting. We can talk about that if you want. That's an interesting conversation topic.
No, we
but-
can be talking about that all night. We're in California.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, voting is a really important thing. I don't think you need a really good reason to make somebody not vote, as everybody
No,
up
but
here has already
they're
said.
not who they say they are.
Well, yeah, but that
That's a
just
good
doesn't
reason.
happen. There are ways to check and see when you
Yeah,
if you
it's
show up
called
at the polls
ID.
and you
It's the
vote.
same thing you do
You
as
give
a
them your
federal
name, you give them your address, they cross you off the list, and you vote. It's a pretty easy thing. I think it's interesting when you say people that don't have jobs or people that don't pay taxes shouldn't vote. So are we talking about disproportionately black people and Hispanic people there that shouldn't be allowed
Why
to vote?
y'all always use black people?
Who do you think in the United States is less likely to hold a job
Don't
right
we
now?
have other races that?
It's
Sure,
about
but
to
when
go
we're talking
down.
about the most that are affected by poverty, don't virtue signal to me,
God,
Jeff.
I hate this stuff when they're like, oh, I don't see color. Why are you saying black? You're the actual racist. That's probably my least favorite thing they do. What is it called? The online people say, id pull. Is that what it's called? I don't know. I'm new to the online terminology.
See, come on, that's a liberal thing. Don't do that to me. When
Well,
we talk about
black-
the most disaffected people in the United States, we're usually talking about black people or Hispanic people.
But that's
Are
not
these the
true,
people that
though.
what do you mean that's not true?
Black people can go vote. They even send a bus for
They
you.
can. I was just responding to his point. responding to his point about saying that people that don't pay taxes shouldn't vote.
Let's just use a different analogy. Let's use a different analogy. All right, don't stop talking about black people disproportionate, this, that, and the other, because the same Democrats that are talking about black people are the same Democrats who said Trump was whistling to his people who lived up in the hills to come down and vote for him. So let's stop talking about black people, man. Talk about something else. Use a different type of analogy. Don't use Latinos either. He's getting pissed off right here. He's up on a seat like, say so much.
I mean, I don't really care how mad you get. Numbers are numbers. I mean, like, these are issues
that's
that
not
we
numbers.
have to talk about.
Okay, all right, let's talk about numbers.
Are.
How are black people 12% of the population in the United States, but they're the most disproportionate when it comes to voting?
What does that have to do with any of the points that I just said?
That means that black people cannot be the most people who don't vote, because we don't even make up not even 20% of the population. We only make up 12% of the population. White people make up the majority of the population.
What was better, Vosh or Tim Pool?
So if we have a voter and 32% of the people came out to vote, black people only make up 12% of the population. That means the majority of people who did not vote are white.
Ooh.
Next topic.
No, okay.
Ooh. Next topic.
You sound like Ben
It's
Shapiro.
like a stats 101 thing. So I don't know.
You
if
said
I'm right.
numbers. You said you did you not say
when
numbers?
You talk about numbers, we talk
Oh,
about
only
per
numbers that
capita.
matter to you.
No,
Okay, my bad.
first of
Numbers that matter to you.
You
All right,
can
you
say
got
they
it.
don't
You
matter
got
to me,
it.
but when it comes to
Yeah,
Democratic
no, you
Party,
said
the black
numbers.
vote was incredibly
You
important
said
for who was
numbers.
going to be the nominee of the
You
Democratic
said
Party.
numbers.
Black people
You
came
said
out and they
numbers,
voted
and
for
I
Joe
gave
Biden.
you numbers.
You gave me absolute numbers.
You,
so it
I
don't
gave
mean
you the
anything.
numbers that are
You gave
true.
me the
You meant the
absolute
numbers that
so
only
it
matter
don't
to
mean
you.
anything.
Okay, the
No,
numbers that
I-
matter to you. Let's use that next time. Your opinionated numbers, not real numbers. The numbers that matter to you.
Opinionated
That's what I'm
numbers. I'm
saying.
talking about the numbers that are important.
If you're
The per
talking about
capita
okay, numbers that
Do
are
you think
important to
black people's
you.
electoral voices don't matter then? Because they're
Bill,
too small
numbers
percentage
that
of
matter to
electorate.
you. What I'm saying is we don't have a big say so in who becomes the president. What you need to do, if you want to talk about numbers, encourage the majority of the white people who live in the United States to come out and vote. Don't say black people don't vote, Latinos don't vote. We don't hold the majority of the people in the United
talking
States.
about black people, Latinos
You
not
just
voting.
said that.
He gave the example that we should keep people without jobs from voting, and I said disproportionately that would impact black people and Hispanic people. I don't care about the
It
absolute
cannot
numbers of black people.
disproportionately impact black people. It disproportionately impacts white people because white people are the majority of the people who are in the United States.
He makes such a stupid point, and like you guys are saying, the crowd here is killing it. The crowd here is making this so insufferable. That's why Donald Trump versus Joe Biden debates aren't good for Trump anymore, because he can't say bullshit one-liners and have the crowd react to it. All this guy does is say buzzwords, and the crowd reacts, so it looks like it's doing good for him. It's like watching Friends with the laugh track versus watching Friends or another show without the laugh track.
Joe Frazier.
I'm glad
It's not how the
that.
numbers work.
Okay, you're right. You're right. I just said you were right. What else you want from me? You are right.
Do you understand the difference between like a per capita stat and an absolute number?
I just said you were right. Next time.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you're here to understand the numbers. I'm black and slow. I would have missed the numbers.
I mean, I'm an
Intellectual people.
Black people vote don't matter, I guess.
Intellectual
That's
people.
not. That's not.
population.
Now you putting
You said-
words in
you
my
said the
mouth.
minority
You sound like Joe
population.
Biden. Oh, if you ain't black, you gonna
I
vote for
didn't say
Trump.
that.
Come on, man. That's what you
I'm
sound
running
like.
it down
Come
with your
on,
logic.
man.
If black
No,
people are
no,
12% of the population, their vote doesn't matter. That's what you're saying. No,
That's
those are the numbers. That's
what
the
I'm
fact.
telling you is what you said was wrong. You hate to be wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Okay, Joe Biden's racist. Prove me wrong.
I'm not talking about Joe Biden.
That's what
being
I'm
racist.
saying. You.
But hey, if he was
I
racist,
just
it
said-
matters.
I
Black
just-
people are only 12%
Stephen
of the
Crowder.
I
population,
just said
so
that
it
you were
doesn't
right.
matter.
I
That's
said
fine.
you were right.
I know.
I said you were right. Okay,
All right.
next
Do you
topic.
accept you're right? Do you
Yeah, because
accept
if you
that?
argue with an idiot, you make yourself look dumber arguing with the person who's dumb.
No.
Let's go. Next topic.
No. Destiny is smart. Leave that alone.
It is pretty smart. You talk
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Talking fast don't mean you smart. That just mean you talk fast.
Intellectual.
Black people are only 12% of the population then, by your own words. Why should anybody appeal to their vote at all? Why does the Platinum Plan or any of Joe Biden's Black America plans matter? If they're a minority of the population.
That's not what we're talking about.
No, but now we are talking about it, so I'm
What you said was
asking
black
you,
people
why does
were
it matter?
disproportionately zeroed out from voting. Black people only hold 12% of the vote. The reason why you want black people to vote is because if you don't vote, they're going to tear your shit up. Have an agenda for black people. Have an agenda for Latinos. Have an agenda for Asians. Have an agenda for people who came from other countries who are now citizens. Have an agenda for white people. Have an agenda for everybody. If you don't, then you're just blatantly either a racist or you just don't care about black people.
So he wants there to be an individual plans for every race in America. Are you kidding me? If Democrats proposed a singular plan for Hispanics, for black people, for Asian people, do you know how the people on the right would react to that, that's insane. Like, come on.
And I'm
Just
glad Joe
because-
Biden
just-
has a plan for all of those
Black
people.
people
Thank
don't-
you so
he
much.
don't got no damn plan for black people. His plan for black people.
JoeBiden.com/BlackAmerica.
No,
Rather than you-
that's
All right.
the only thing I want to see on Joe Biden's side is I'm repealing that crime bill because I still got family members that are in jail that are
You're
innocent.
not going to do that under Trump.
You-
Trump who still
Trump
supports
just
stop and
created
frisk. Who still supports stop and frisk.
That was not Trump. That was Rudy Giuliani.
And he support-
That was
Trump
Rudy
supports
Giuliani.
it. Trump
Listen, let me tell you
supports
something.
it. Okay,
Let me tell
hey.
you something. The crime bill disproportionately
This
affected
is
black
30
people.
years ago.
It's still effective today. So why hasn't he apologized?
So who's more
How
likely to
come-
repeal it? Why
I
didn't
have
Trump
an uncle
repeal it?
that- I have an uncle that spent 12 years in jail, didn't do anything. I had an uncle that spent 23 years in jail, didn't do anything. I have another uncle that spent 8 years in jail, didn't do anything. You know why? Because the assumption of a crime committed, because that's what it says on page 198 of Joe Biden's crime bill, which you know all about.
Okay.
And what did Trump do for any
Hold
of
on.
those people?
Trump created criminal justice for him. That's how I got them out of prison.
Hey. So,
We're so
the-
mad about the 94 crime bill, but for some reason it's still there.
That's
I don't know.
'cause
We've
you're
had
not
4
black.
years. We've had 4 years. No, maybe black has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with
It doesn't
it. We've
affect you.
had Trump for 4 years, and he hasn't done anything with it. And you know what? In another
Hey,
4
he-
years,
he
he's
absolutely-
not going to do anything
he
with it. Because what does
absolutely-
Trump do when it comes to
he
crime?
absolutely
What does
did.
Trump do when it comes to crime?
got
He
some
supports
of them
things like stop
out.
and frisk.
Real
He pardoned
crime. Real
Sheriff
crime.
Arpaio. People
Real
that
crime.
are okay, real
Real
crime. All
crime.
right. So whatever crime only matters to whatever talking point you have.
No,
with
no,
him.
no. It only matters
Hold on.
when it's real.
Hey,
It's not
hey.
it doesn't matter when people assume a crime because you guys crime bill. Tell him to get his head out his ass. Repeal that crime bill.
see, you're
Well,
the-
Trump's had 4 years. He hasn't done it.
Hold on,
4 years
guys.
ago,
Hold on.
Republican Senate and
So
House.
you started this by saying that. Are you white or are you Jewish?
I'm a Jew who became a Christian.
The Jews always start in trouble, huh? And then we have to sit back and fight it out. Do you want to clear that up a little bit, or?
No, what my point is simply that the right to vote, we've become more and more democratic, but the right to vote was supposed to be for people who had something to lose in the government. They had money in the government. Now,
He's unironically
most people pay taxes somewhere along the line.
Only letting,
and so that's not
property
going
owners
to
pay
actually
ta-
do it.
vote.
Steve, is it?
He's
what Steve was saying. It's
unironically
not
saying
actually
that.
going to limit the black people. But a majority of black people are in favor of photo IDs for voting.
Yeah.
It didn't stop any of them from turning out in places where there are photo IDs. This idea that that asking people to be responsible about their vote, which, as he says, is one of their most important things, that's voter suppression. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Right.
Why don't Republicans just issue? If you think that that's so important, then why don't Republicans, alongside these bills for having voter IDs being required, why don't they just provide a free, federally funded voter ID then?
It's fine with me, but
Yeah,
why?
they've never done it though. So it makes you wonder, why don't they do that?
But almost everybody has a.
Not almost everybody. Almost everybody's important, but I'm going to use this word to trigger you. Disproportionately, it's going to be lower income people that don't have access to those IDs. And if you look at states like North Carolina.
I got to move on because of time, really.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I want to ask Shannon. Sherman. I want to talk about the cops and the mobs, all right, mob justice. There's been rioting and looting, violence are taking place in Philadelphia even right now. And the cops are being shot at. They're running over cops with trucks and things like that. Black Lives Matter is behind all this, along with Antifa. What do you think about what's happening right now to the cops and the mob justice?
Well, first, I would like to say that it's not Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not a group, it's just a slogan. So
What?
before Black Lives Matter.
But don't let those fat
No,
black
I'm just saying,
listeners know that.
it's a slogan.
They
It's not a
saying
group. Like if Black Lives Matter is a group, where did they meet up at? Who's the organizer in each and every city? There is not one.
But
Black
Patrice-
Lives Matter is just a slogan that just lets people know that Black Lives Matter. That's all it is. So say like
Patrice and all those women that black fat radical lesbians, they're not real.
Come on, man. No, I'm just saying, like,
Are you saying they're not real?
I mean, did they say, hey, let's sum up the troops and let's go to Philadelphia and let's cause this havoc?
Well, I agree
No,
that
they didn't.
somebody is over there paying it and organizing it,
I
but
mean,
they are the head of it.
But I mean, this type of thing's been going on, like the 1992 riots. You know, like Black Lives Matter didn't exist then. Black Lives Matter didn't exist in 1965, the Watts riots. No, what it is it's oppressed people that don't have a voice, that are getting stressed the fuck out. You know, they've been stressed out for centuries. They have PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome, and they just have to. Yes.
I saw Patrice on the news
exists.
the other day. She didn't look like she was depressed.
No, I'm just saying.
Or
No, I'm not
oppressed
talking about
or
her.
hungry.
I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about people in those communities. Now they have an outlet to express their anger.
But how is this benefiting them? They tear down
It
statues
does.
and
I mean,
monuments.
but it's like
They
it's
think
and
BLM is a
flags
terrorist
that are
organization,
stressed
by the
out,
way.
that are
tops and all that.
oppressed.
How's that helping them?
What will help them is going through therapy and having opportunities.
Well, then
and-
everybody's gonna need therapy after this.
No, not everybody. It's those people that are in oppressed situations.
What?
Like if you oppress somebody for so long, and then like, okay, you know, a guy got shot by the police. Now I have something to be mad about. Now I could express my anger. That's all it is. It's like if
So
you're
there was
hungry.
this guy by the name of Walter. What was Walter named? Wallace. He was chasing a cop down the street with a knife, right? And he didn't seem to be oppressed. He seemed to be high or something.
Having a bipolar meltdown. He was having a manic episode, and they were calling for doctors all day. They refused to send doctors to the house. Instead, they showed up with guns and vests on, and they scared the guy, and they escalated the situation to a point where there was no other choice but for them to apparently shoot him 14 times. And, you know, all these conservative people are going to say it was that guy's fault because of this entire, you know, broken system. And then, I mean, the cop shooting him 14 times was bad enough. And then when you learn about all the precursor stuff, it gets 20 times worse. I made a video on that. It's the Crowder one on my channel, the Steven Crowder.
How do you explain that?
I wasn't there. I just saw a video. I don't know what happens, but I
He has a
guarantee
criminal
you
record, Lord
that's
to
cool.
y'all.
But I guarantee you, if he was a white man, he would be alive today.
Because he would not have been chasing.
Period.
You
I seen
think
the
that if
video.
there was a white man chasing the cop down the
Because
street
a
with
knife is not. I mean, you could run back. You don't have to kill somebody.
I don't agree with
you
this.
could run back.
I
What do
mean,
you
that's
mean?
cool. That's just what I believe.
That's not a
'Cause
good
I've seen
argument.
Run
videos-
back.
I've seen videos of white men with weapons that don't get killed. I have.
But I'm sure there's some
But
black
you are
folks.
right, though. A black man running towards the police with a knife to that police officer would be a threat. More of a threat than it would be if it was a white man.
So you support Black Lives Matter?
Oh, man. Black Lives Matter, again, is not a group. It's just a saying.
It's
I do
absolutely
think.
an organization. And they
Yeah,
make a
it's an
lot of money.
organization.
I mean,
Black
but.
Lives Matter LA have $3 million, and all the money that they exploited from dead bodies, they have never gave anything to. I know because we had a lot of run-ins with them, but we chased them out of South Central LA. That's why you don't see them. we really did.
You didn't know it was an organization?
I mean, I just
not an
don't believe it's an organization.
You don't
I
believe?
just don't.
What do you think?
It's not.
I mean,
it's not
because-
anybody can throw a BLM march. If you
Yeah,
want to.
like,
You can go
it's-
do whatever you want. You can call it BLM and they'll register it on the site and everything.
You don't believe it's an organization as well? As
Okay,
well?
You can
absolutely
register
right,
on the site. You
100%.
can register
You
from
can
something
register
that's not
any
an
business
organization.
name you want in any state you want.
So
LLCs
that
are state
means it's
recognized
an
entities.
organization.
Anything can be an organization you want it to be. I'm an organization. Like that
You
doesn't
are
mean
an
anything.
organization.
But when people talk about
So is BLM.
when people talk about BLM is a huge collection of tons of different people. You can't point to one guy running on a street with a
there's a
knife and say
bunch-
that's BLM. Or,
Right, there are other people, working with them.
Not
but
in
there
all these, in
was
some places, just some college kids
I
get
no,
together
no,
and
no.
they're like,
I've
we want to have a
interviewed
little
them.
college.
I interviewed them.
That's
They're a
great
bunch
that you
of
have.
fat black radical
That's not
lesbians.
every. I don't think that's every BLM.
Lesbians!
I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to characterize the entire movement and everybody that's out there rioting or protesting as being some fat, overprivileged black person.
No,
I
I'm
think
just
it's
talking
bullshit.
about the organizers.
Just BLM, not every
So
organization.
the
just
tens of
BLM.
millions of people that were protesting over cities over the past like 8 months. These
They're
are all
joining
just.
BLM. That's how they
Right.
raised $300 million for
Well,
the
how
guy.
do you join BLM?
You go to the website, just like he said, and
And
you
then just
and
fill
you
it
Like
out.
an email list or.
And then you
You've
tell
seen
them,
it
I'll
about it.
burn down this building.
That's what I'm saying.
Why you
I
go
mean,
next door?
It's not. I mean, I know
So
organizations.
you don't know it's an organization?
No, it's not that I don't know. It's that I do not believe it's an organization. All it is just saying that Black Lives Matter.
Sometimes
What do you
it's
think about
always
that,
hard to
Joe?
believe. The organization was created in 2013. And they've been around for a long time. They raised money. They organized protests. Now they're organizing riots because they got involved with Antifa and all these other organizations. I know because I've seen it. I went to Minneapolis after George Floyd died to protest against police brutality, and we saw We saw the organization. We saw the people getting paid. We saw the trucks. We saw the cars. Even here in Los Angeles, we saw the same exact thing when they tried to burn down our police station on Imperial, and we chased them out of here. You know where they were from? Not L.A. They got paid to come out here.
If I were to have a BLM march right now, if I were to go outside, not
You got
right
to
now.
go to the website and
I
you
don't
have to
have to go to the
register.
website though. If I were to say I'm going to have a Black Lives Matter march, I go on Facebook, I put together a group, and we all go out and do it. Is somebody going to sue me?
Yes.
No, they won't.
They're going to
No,
say,
they
you know
won't.
what, we're going to
They'll
join you.
kill
We're
him.
gonna pay
No, they
you to
can't sue.
join.
Also, if
No,
you
no,
watch
no.
any
They
video,
will
if you
kill
watch- if
you.
No one's going to come.
White
Maybe
people are
Tyson
not
can hear me.
allowed. No,
If
white
you
people
were
are
to
not
watch-
allowed to
if you
have
were to
a.
watch any of the 24 streams that were running for all across all the cities in the U.S. for all these people, for all of the BLM and Antifa people protesting. Usually the BLM people were telling the Antifa people to am I allowed to swear here? To F off? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, to fuck off. If you look at like any of these videos, usually it's
many protests have you been to?
how many? I've watched a lot. I'm not going out there. I don't want to get
So
sick.
you didn't go. You just
So you didn't go into one protest? Did you speak out about protests all across the country?
I've been to a lot. I'm black.
Really,
I'm
in
black. Yes,
every
I've
single
been
city
there.
across
I am
the country.
black.
You were in Seattle, you were in
Yeah, I've been
Portland,
to-
you
I've
were
been
in
to
LA,
Seattle.
you were in
I've been to
Chicago, you were in
Seattle, I've been
DC,
to
you were in
Portland.
Baltimore, you were in
Yes,
Miami. No, you were not at
absolutely.
every single one of these protests.
Go
Don't
to my
pretend. That's not
website
true.
and go check and
That's not.
see.
I don't have to go to your website. I already know
Oh,
because half the
because
shit you're saying
he
is
saw it on the
right.
video. He didn't see
No,
me on the video.
no,
That's why it doesn't
because you
exist.
believe that BLM is an organization that was
BLM
clearly
is
created.
I am black. Therefore, I was at every protest.
Absolutely an
It's a
organization.
slogan.
You just said you have to go register in order to
I
register.
just said that you don't have to register.
Tekashi 6ix9ine had no organization, but yet he got hit on a federal charge for having an organization.
He can have an organization, but BLM
Oh, so he can
is
have an
not.
organization, but BLM can't, and they're organized.
Anybody can make if you guys
You're
want
right.
for $50, you can register an LLC and call it whatever the hell you want. You can do that. That's
And
your
you
right as an
also
American.
go to the website and you can
The whole
register.
point-
And the website actually registers if you pay money, go to ActBlue, and they give all that money to Democrats, right? Because that's
If you want to
organization
fundraise,
does.
but I don't know what
I
that
mean,
has to do with
but-
this. If you want to have a
Joe,
Black Lives,
Joe, that
listen, you guys
does
can try. I'll
exist.
pay your
I mean,
legal
we're
fees.
not saying that it
I will
doesn't
pay.
It's an organization.
But like both of you are right at the same time.
There can be organizations that call
He's
themselves
right.
BLM.
No, I mean both of you are right.
No,
Like,
he's right.
both of y'all are right.
I don't have to be right. He's right. He's the right. He's the
Yo,
right
Andrew,
guy. I'm on it right, but he is right.
Andrew,
Even
where
though
did
he's
this
left.
idea come from that Black Lives Matter is not an organization?
Well, I said that. when you asked me.
no, it's
Oh, you just made that up?
No, he's
That's just
correct.
what
That congressional guy in the middle, the candidate, is so cringy.
Smoke pot?
No, I don't. I don't smoke. I don't drink.
Well, I
don't do
got a
anything.
joint for you.
Nah, I don't.
Welcome to pot.
I just want to say a good word
Is
for
it
the,
an
I want
organ-
to say a good word for the police. I want to say a good word for
Yes,
the cops.
please.
This may be completely unpopular. I don't care. You know, by the time an event gets to the police officers, so many things have failed in society that he has got very few options. He's got the option. He's got to go home safe to his family. We sent him out there to do what he does.
Yeah.
And if there are failures, if there are social failures that are causing crime in certain communities, that's not on him. That's not something he created. It's like the vote. By the time it gets to the vote, you got two choices. You vote Democrat or you vote Republican or you throw your vote away. The cop is in the same situation. He is the last guy on the line of failure. And the fact that we have this idea that you defund the police or you even condemn the police for things that happen. Look, obviously the bad cops and bad things happen. There's a city's worth of cops in this country. There's the population of San Francisco number of cops in this country. They're going to be
This guy's running for office.
bad guys in there. That's not the point. But the whole idea that they should be condemned en masse for
California.
dealing with problems that none of us, none of the rest of the population has to deal with. They are dealing with things in situations of danger. And when you hear guys like Joe Biden say idiotic stuff like shoot him in the leg, which makes me feel like he's actually never handled a firearm before. I mean, that's leaving those guys out there, or saying that a knife isn't as dangerous as a gun. And in close quarters, a knife is more dangerous than a gun. I mean, a knife is a dangerous weapon.
Yeah.
And so I just think we just leave them out there alone, and then sort of ask them to act like social workers.
Knives are more dangerous than guns, actually. Sorry to break it to you, liberals.
Just to show you how serious a knife is, over in France yesterday, some guy went into a church and cut off a person's head with a
I
knife.
never said a knife is.
I rest
serious.
my case.
I'm just.
Wait a second. When that guy walked into the Christchurch mosque, how many people did he kill?
I don't know, but I just know about the one
In
that
the
did it.
Vegas shooter, how many people did he kill? The
No,
Miami
we talk
High Club, how
about
many
with
people
a
did he kill?
knife.
Yeah, but
There's a
I'm
reason
just saying,
why
like,
people-
from what I seen with on the video, it just looked like they were a distance apart. Like that's what I'm saying. It's
When
not
you
like
have a
they
knife
were-
coming
he
after
wasn't
you, There's no distance.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
So should they be designated, Black Lives Matter, a terrorist organization?
Should they be designated a terrorist organization?
Yes.
Imagine this conversation.
That's a little tough. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
Should the civil rights what did they call the civil rights protesters back in the civil rights era? Just protesters? I don't even know. Was there a name for them? But it's like calling them a terrorist organization
But no,
because there are riots.
Because
What do you need?
they are a Marxist organization.
Yeah.
And they certainly are. You go on their website, and the stuff they say, they've taken some of it down, but it's actually radical, terrible stuff that would enslave people, that would bring down our economy, bring down our society. So, yeah, they're definitely an organization. They're definitely a Marxist organization. They're definitely bad guys. Terrorists, I don't know. Are they blowing things up? Maybe some of them are. Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them. As a matter of fact, they're thinking that next week they're going to have another mob attack. And so they started to board up businesses in Washington, D.C., even in Beverly Hills. They're boarding up businesses. But the mayor said the other day, they are not going to cross the line into Beverly Hills. And so they better watch out if they go to Beverly Hills.
That's interesting. It's
Yeah.
about time.
Yeah, it is. Should they be designated a terrorist organization?
No, because they're not an organization.
Amazing. What do you say?
I'm not 100% sure, and the reason why is because when we seen them, it wasn't Black Lives Matter that was destroying stuff. It was the people who were infiltrating Black Lives Matter. Now, if you have to turn to an organization to dissuade people from destroying things, then absolutely. But you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't Black Lives Matter that was tearing up stuff.
But if they were not out there doing what they were doing, would those people have been there?
Protesting is a right that the
That wasn't
Constitution
protesting.
grants.
They
If Black Lives Matter existed or did not exist, the rioting and the protesting would be happening at the same capacity. Maybe the protesting would be a little bit lessened, but the rioting that happens is a really particular event.
Burned and robbed. They were stealing refrigerators. How do you steal a refrigerator?
But that doesn't.
And what that have? They didn't
doesn't-
have food to put in the refrigerator.
That doesn't designate a terrorist organization, though.
But they
stealing
were
things.
killing and running over cops and everything.
Then they need to get penalized. But a terrorist organization would be like Antifa. That's a terrorist organization.
Oh, you might. Yeah.
That's a terror. Like Antifa
So
would
you
be a
said
terrorist
no, they
organization.
should not be.
I would say it's debatable.
Oh, okay. What do you say? As if I don't know.
Yeah, no. Of course not. Why would you designate a terrorist organization for people that protest? The vast majority of BLM protesters and even Antifa protesters are peaceful protesters.
Should they be designated a terrorist organization?
No, of course not. Because Antifa is as much an organization as BLM is.
They're not an organization either.
Nope.
How about Antifa?
Yes, absolutely. Antifa needs to go.
Should they be designated a terrorist group?
Yes, they should.
Are you familiar with Antifa?
I mean, I tried to look them up, but there's not much out there besides.
How do you designate something a terrorist organization? Like Antifa, if they decided to push for that, how would they do that? Just by identifying as Antifa? Because there's no organization to attack. Like Proud Boys, you have an organization to attack. There's no like organization for Antifa headquarters.
That's like what I hear from
They're a
Trump
bunch of
and
white
whoever.
people that wear masks.
Well, if you go to
I mean, but that's
Antifa.com
what
and
I'm
take you to
saying,
Joe
like-
Biden's site. That's
Like
fine.
when I looked them up, I was kind of like confused on what they are about, who
Yeah.
it is, who's the leader, what. Oh. But that's what I mean. Like when we talk about organizations like the SCLC, like there's a leader, there's somebody that takes charge. They have meetings, So it's like those are organizations to me.
Okay.
But like Black Lives Matter, you saying like, okay, the person ran the police over. That could have been an individual that was just mad, just trying to do something. You
But-
don't know that they're a part of Black Lives Matter at all.
But they were out there with them.
Their black people have been protesting in every major city, like for like the past century.
Amazing.
That's not all that. Then they were not Black Lives Matter. If
How
something
about-
happens to a black individual where they feel like it's injustice, it will cause a protest. That'll more than likely cause a riot. Have you ever been to a protest like before the cameras and all this social media stuff back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah, people are crazy and they're mad and they want to find a way to expound their anger.
I
So-
remember once we had a protest up in West LA at the Federal Building. We wanted to shut down the borders and keep the illegals out. And the Mexicans came. And they had bricks and they had frozen Coke cans and they were
The
throwing.
thing about Antifa is they are always going to be a reaction to other things. So, like, that's a joke a little bit. Antifa goes away when the fascists stop doing fascism. I mean, that's sort of true. Antifa doesn't just come up and start wrecking shit for no reason. They come to certain events for reasons. They don't just start like a white nationalist rally, like the other side would do, like the fascists actually do.
Throwing them at us, and they were violent.
Right. Well, that's
But
what
now the
happened.
Mexicans are my friends. Hola. Come and see ya. So one quick question: should Antifa be considered a terrorist organization?
They're fascist street thugs. They're Antifa. Fa stands for fascist and anti stands for nothing. They're fascist street thugs. I don't know if that's a terrorist organization, Jesse. I mean, again, are they plotting?
What else do they need to know for you to know that they are terrorists? What else do they need to do?
Are they plotting? Paramilitary attacks on the country?
I wouldn't take that risk with them.
Yeah, but you'd have to do something before you call them terrorists, right?
What's the definition?
Trying to influence the political climate through violent action.
I rest my case.
Technically, if we're going legally, there is no such thing as a domestic terrorist designation by the
Well,
FBI.
what
It
I-
has to be a foreign designation.
What
That's
you-
just a fact. Even the KKK is not a terrorist organization. That's just not how we view them in the United States.
Yeah.
When
Two
I joined the
things I'm
military,
go-
I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So therefore, according to that oath, there has to be some type of domestic terrorist organization, or we wouldn't have to take an oath to it in the military. So, that's all
Two
I'm saying.
things I will be doing
That's
when
not
I
how the
become
classification
president.
works, though.
Number one, you can't vote unless you own land. You like that, right?
Nobody's voting.
And number two, Antifa and Black Lives Matter would be designated a terrorist organization. Great Black Hope. So real fast, then I got to go to the audience. I'm told. Wound it up. This woman, Amy Barrett. Yeah. She's now on the Supreme Court.
Amy
She's
Barrett.
already excluded herself from the court cases about this, the ballot things and what we're doing now.
That is good.
Was that a good choice for the president?
Oh, she looks great. Yeah, I mean, she's an originalist, which is what I agree with. And people call themselves originalists, but she actually is one, like Scalia was. And Scalia was a great justice. It's an important appointment because it means that Clarence Thomas, who is the most brilliant jurist in the country, that Clarence Thomas will be able to assign cases when John Roberts is on the minority.
Yeah.
So in other words, now we've got an actual conservative majority for the first time, and it makes a huge difference. She seems to be brilliant. She seems to be decent, and I think she's a terrific choice. We wanted her on the last time. We were kind of all at the Daily Wire. We were rooting for her last time, but he got another shot, and I'm really thrilled. Yeah.
What do you say? Was that a good choice?
I mean, honestly, I just researched her today. She looks like a very fair woman. She is putting her Catholic beliefs like to the side, and she's like sworn to, uphold the Constitution. I really think that it is unfair that people are using her being a Catholic against her and her personal views against Roe versus Wade. I feel like that's very unfair because we all have freedom of religion. But she did say that she's going to set that aside and just like enforce the Constitution, and her personal beliefs are her personal beliefs.
Was that a good choice?
Yeah, it was a pretty good choice.
How about you?
I'm still a little upset that Garland got cheated out of his nomination, but I mean, if you're a Republican, yeah, she's a good choice. I mean, obviously, I disagree with her, but
One last quick
She
yes
is
or
the
no.
perfect Republican
Does
choice,
it bother
honestly.
you that she is married with 7 children, and she's out playing man, trying to be a man?
Oh,
Instead
God,
of being home with
dude.
her husband and children, watching over his kids. And the fact that she said that when asked about George Floyd, she said, "Oh, yeah, I felt bad because I have 2 black kids, and I just wanted to cry with
God,
them."
dude.
And her kids are from another country. Don't even know George Floyd, never heard of George Floyd. Does that bother you? That here's a woman that's supposed to be a wife and a mother, and she's at work playing man, and the man at home being the wife. Does that bother
Is
you?
this a real question?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you? Does it bother
No.
you?
No, it doesn't.
Well, you should say it doesn't because we got to vote for you next week.
I'll say it done, Bob. this is America, right?
You can tell me later.
It ain't gonna bother me then either. I'm not gonna lose sleep over that.
That's right. Does it bother you?
No.
You wouldn't be bothered if you gave your wife 7 babies and she went to work and left you at home.
I mean, but then it's like you don't know their
If you gave your wife 7 babies. If you gave, you just went and you adopted a bunch of babies to gift to your wife.
Personal situation. You don't know if her mom lives with her taking care of the kids. You don't know anything.
That's even
So
worse.
it's easy. No, it's not. The grandmothers will be a good way to take care of the kids. Like, you don't know their personal situation.
Andrew, does that bother you?
You always get me in these situations because I'm the guy who's going to put his foot in his mouth. Because here's what I think. I think for me, I'm thrilled she's on the court. However, I do think that if you have little children at home, but preschool age children at home, they need a mother.
I rest my case. I knew I was right.
I'm sleeping here tonight, but you know.
That's right. Betas. Okay, so now we got to go to the audience, all right? Right? What? Oh, anybody need to use the bathroom? We need to do something with the cameras too, right?
Oh, they take a break here. Yeah, that was weird. He's talking about she's a woman. She should not be leaving the house and doing actual duties because her husband gave her the kids. And then he said something about the kids, her black kids that she adopted. Like, they weren't even born in this country. Like, what the hell was he going on about, dude? That's insane, dude. I love JLP. He's a genius. Modern day Socrates or
Questions?
Nostradamus.
The young lady over here first.
Every
and then this young
every
man.
philosopher combined, actually. He is the culmination.
Okay, so I have a question for the YouTuber, Mr. Destiny. My question is, since you believe that that like Black Lives
Say that
Matter.
for us.
Oh, okay. Since you believe that like Black Lives Matter and the organization is like cool and all, my question is, do you believe that what happened to Jacob Blake was, do you think it was called for or uncalled for? Because I believe that it was called for because he also had did things in his past as penetrating a woman's vagina open.
What?
And that doesn't sound very like human-like. It wasn't appropriate, I believe.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm not as up to date on like the specifics of the Jacob Blake thing, but I can support like the broad idea of a movement without supporting every single individual pick
Oh,
that a group
cool,
of people
Destiny.
decide to represent. I think
Cool
that
stance.
for better or for worse, I think that sometimes BLM tends to pick some people that they want to kind of champion or martyr that I don't think are the best picks. I try to focus on the overall message rather than defending every single individual case. though.
Weak. Very weak. Weak response.
Right here.
Bad.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you. Jesse, thank you for everything. And I just want to ask, maybe Joe could answer. I have 2 kids, and with the vaccine, and with all the numbers you just described and everything, how would you recommend or advise someone to approach, vaccines with their kids?
So this is about vaccines, but that question before is how all conservatives view, like, if a black guy gets shot by the cops. They hear one story about him, like a fake story on Facebook, and they think that is the reason he died. Like, he is so evil, the universe made him die, so it's okay. It's okay. It was just his time. God was saving us from a piece of dirt, basically. That's what they think.
The schools are talking about testing. We're in the LA school district, so they're trying to test everyone. And I tell my wife, we need to stay out of all this as much as possible because it's gonna cause problems. If it's a 12-week testing, the kids could have no symptoms, and I could be, taken out of work. My wife could be taken out of work. There's so many repercussions from what could happen. And I don't know if that's the best route to go right now. It doesn't seem like there's any real payoff. And then with the facts about the numbers, it just seems like where do I draw the line as a father? And I'm real confused and kind of lost on this.
Which was up for here? Oh yeah, okay.
I'll tell you this. As a father, my best guess to you, because I can't tell you what to do with your children, is just do research on a vaccine. If you feel like the vaccine is safe, then go for it. If not, then don't use it. I'm not pro-vaccination. I don't vaccinate my children, so it's just whatever you feel as a parent.
Oh, he doesn't vaccinate his children.
But
That makes
California
sense.
is a mandatory state, so is there any way to battle this?
By mandatory, he means you can't send your kids to public school if you don't get vaccinated. Like, imagine in a first world country not wanting to get your kid vaccinated. And there's this thing they say about freedom in America. I forget who said it. It's like your freedom to swing your arm stops where my nose begins. And, if you do something that affects me, you're not free to do that. And this is a key example.
Sue?
sue for your constitutional rights. It's your child. It's your right to vaccinate or not vaccinate. See, the Constitution was put in place to allow you to live your life without the influence of the government. So anytime the government makes a mandate for you to do something, you always have the option to go to federal court and sue so you can protect your rights, protect yourself and your children.
You disagree with that? Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I would want my kid to go to school knowing that he was protected from somebody carrying diseases that could be prevented by vaccines. I don't feel like I live in a free country if my kid gets some debilitating illness that could have been prevented by a vaccine. That's not freedom to me.
Should they force the parents to do it?
Absolutely. It's about keeping our children safe.
They're doing it now already.
Do you think they should force
That,
it?
it's
No,
not,
they
it's
are
not,
forcing it.
It's not freedom.
They are forcing it now.
I said, should they though?
They are, so,
I know they are. But
yeah.
They should force it.
Oh, should they force it?
I mean, no, I do feel like it should be you should be able to make that decision.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a health decision and it's your body. Like, I was never vaccinated
Right.
as a child. But
Vaccines are literally the single most important improvement that we've made in public health over
I
the
think
past,
that-
like, sanitary.
I
okay?
think that since you're
But
the one with the problem, you keep your kids out of school so everybody else can enjoy the freedom of going to school.
I think America already has enough of an
that's it.
education problem without just arbitrarily pulling people out of
Just
school
like
because
a-
we can't vaccinate like
Just
every
like
other first world
America
country
already
in the
has a
world
problem with
figured out.
forcing other people's opinions on everybody else and making that a norm. If you don't want your kids to be vaccinated, don't vaccinate your kids. If you want your kids to be vaccinated, vaccinate your kids, but don't inhibit everybody else's rights just because you feel uncomfortable with some type of decision. Keep your kids out of school.
I
Period.
cannot believe that as an American, I have to
cannot
sit up
believe
here and
that
share
you
a
want
stage with
everybody's
somebody
kid
that's
to be
running for
vaccinated just
Congress
because
that
your
doesn't
kid-
understand how important vaccines
It's
are.
not about
That is
the importance of
absolutely
vaccination,
fucking
about the importance
embarrassing
of
to me.
freedom. This is
That when I
America.
turn on my channel,
Keep
I have
your kid
Europeans in
in the
chat
house.
that are going to ask me, do Americans really debate vaccines? I can't even believe that.
Keep
Well, you
your
should
kid
care
in
if you
the
want your
house.
kids to be healthy. If you want your kids to
Keep
not be
your
dying
child
of
in the
preventable
house.
diseases, I think it's a pretty important thing.
Andrew, what do you say? What do you say to that? Should they be forced to do it? The
No,
parents.
no, I'm pro-vaccine, but they shouldn't be forced. And I lived in Europe for 7 years, and they're not free the way we are.
I just want to say, I'm talking
What?
specifically
They're
about
not free
COVID
the way we
vaccine.
are?
Just based
Right.
on the numbers and
What's that
everything.
mean?
It's not it seems like it's not going to benefit. It might cause harm, and we don't know what's going to be the long-term effects of it. So how are we supposed to just trust? They're going to push it globally, nationwide. So where's where do the people get to stand up? That's what I want to know. When's the fight going to come? Because it seems like everyone's just ready to take it, and not everyone, of course, but and that's what the media is pushing too. So I just don't see where my feet to stand on are,
he
to
already gave
defend
it
my
to you.
kids.
Like, you have to read the Constitution and stand on
No, but
your
you guys are all talking about
constitutional
general
rights.
vaccinations. I'm not
No, but that's
full board,
it
not
goes
against.
back to
I'm
the
talking about
90s.
COVID.
Yeah, it still
If
goes
it's a
back to
fake,
what he said.
if they're pushing fake news everywhere, then how are we supposed to trust anything that they come with the vaccine?
Andrew, what did you say about that? You
Thank
said
you.
that he should do it or should not?
Frankly, with this, I don't want to tell you what to do with your kids. I'm just talking about what I would do in that
Yeah.
situation. I think I'm not sure I would get my kids vaccinated against this disease, which doesn't seem to do much to children. I mean,
One thing that we do know about the coronavirus is that people that are affected by it have a chance to have long-term cognitive impairment. That's something that we've seen in every single country. There are studies on it now where people have brain problems months and months after passing this virus, even once they've gotten better, even if they are part of the 99.9%.
That's what happened to Joe Biden.
I can't imagine. Remember when Trump could barely raise a glass of water to his mouth, or he had to do a 3-minute speech about some general walking him down a ramp
Hillary
because he needed to be
Clinton,
wheeled
remember?
off?
Hillary Clinton, same thing, she passed
do you
out.
remember when Hillary Clinton was on the verge of death because she was coughing up mucus and she's still alive and kicking?
Did she
Hillary's
have the
fine,
Chinese
okay?
virus?
Well, I don't think she does.
Oh.
It seems
Exactly,
like
right? They're all
it
fine.
infects Republicans more than Democrats for some reason. I was curious how that works, huh?
Crazy because Joe Biden still has his brain degenerative
Any other
disease from
question?
COVID-19.
And he's still going to win by 10 points.
Okay.
Who
That would
gonna
be
win?
funny.
Biden is going to win by 10 points.
If he don't make
If a guy that can't think or speak beats Trump by 10 points, I'd be very happy. That'd be funny to watch, to see Donald Trump rage.
it,
Okay.
All right, so as a Mexican dude who came out in support of Trump, I just want to ask each of you what your take is on this. But it seems to me like whenever I just say, hey, I'm for Trump, there's always a white guy who needs to tell me, hey, you're wrong, man. Let me save you.
There it is,
So
white guy.
what's up with that, man? Like,
You white.
I mean, I'll tell you you're wrong, but it's not because you're Mexican. I don't care what color you are. I don't think anybody should support Trump, obviously.
American, but, you know, Mexican.
Oh, sure. Well, you're not like a citizen or anything?
I'm
Or?
born in America, you know.
Oh, so you're American? Yeah, you're American.
So what should he do when he is attacked by white people? How can you vote for Donald Trump? You're a Mexican. What should he do?
I don't tell him to fuck off. I don't know. You vote how you want, man. It doesn't matter what color you are. You vote whoever you want to vote.
I agree with him. Vote for whoever you want to. Who cares what people say?
At the same?
I mean, so are you just basically saying like why it's always a white person that does it?
Pretty much. Like, it's not a, you know, black guy, it's not a Mexican
So
guy.
basically, it's like that person has a superiority complex where they feel like they could tell you what you could do with your vote.
But whites can't be racist because they're supporting the blacks and the Mexicans, right?
I mean, but then it all like what's support? You know what I mean? Like how is it support? Like
Because they do BLM rallies.
right. You know, it all could be smoke and mirrors, but basically it's just like okay, these people have superiority complexes because you know you see white people, Superman, all the superheroes and stuff like that, and there's always a white savior in the movie, but it's just kind of like okay, they probably feel like they could tell you how you're supposed to think, how you're supposed to act, because we're in a white supremacist society. You know what I mean?
That's oh my
Yeah.
I
goodness.
personally think that whenever a leftist is talking to you, no matter what he's talking about leftism. He's talking
What?
about taking power from you to the state.
Destiny is not a leftist.
So if he's telling you he's talking about your being black, he's talking about leftism. If he's talking about your being Latino, leftism. It's all
No.
about that. So the minute you say, yeah, look, you can look at my skin and yeah, I'm black or I'm Asian or I'm whatever, but I don't agree with you, you ain't black. That's what they mean. They mean you ain't leftist.
Amazing. Right here, real fast, and then one phone call for you.
You ain't leftist? You ain't leftist.
Hey, I got a quick question for Joe before you take off. If you win this district, what are you going to do with the population that's stuck on drugs, and how would you change?
I think one of the biggest things we have to do is we have to get those mental health facilities open back up. ACLU sued the state of California to allow people who have mental disabilities or drug dependencies to check themselves out of rehab prior to the completion of treatment. So we have to be able to open those things back up and allow these people to get treatment because the Constitution says that people who are under the age of majority or not mentally capable of making decisions cannot make decisions for themselves. So it's up to the government to make those decisions for them. And so they have to go back to rehab until they can get out and become productive parts of society.
And sorry, and who's going to pay for that?
Taxpayers are going to pay for
Okay.
that. But we're not going to do it through taxing you with more gas.
No. Like, because I have a lot of friends that live in that
That's a
area.
much better answer than I expected for that question.
And they're stuck on drugs. I've seen them under the bridge, and good guys, and they threw their life away because of drugs.
Yeah, the government actually has grants to pay for those programs, and unfortunately, it's taxpayers' monies. But you know what? It's money going to good use.
Do drug addicts vote?
In California, they do.
Because I saw a truckload of drug addicts going at the voter poll by my house, and the Democrat was driving the truck. I'm like, drug
A
addicts?
truckload of drug addicts and a Democrat was driving the truck. Does he mean he saw a truckload of like black people come up and he just assumed all the black people were drug addicts and he assumed the person driving them was a Democrat, rounding them up to bring them to the polls?
Vote.
Maxine Waters paid him $1.50 to vote last
Really?
election cycle. Yeah,
Drug addicts?
everybody.
It's no secret that there's a lot at stake in this upcoming election, from dealing with the effects of the pandemic to acknowledging
A lot at
climate change.
stake.
Everybody on Skid Row.
What the? A call. Yes, who's calling? Who's calling?
Sal from Ontario, Canada. Can you say it, Jesse?
Sal from Ontario, Canada. You're on the air.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
My question's for Joe and sort of Destiny. I was wondering, Joe, can you explain what a per capita stat is?
A per capita stat?
We don't have that in
Yeah.
America.
Per capita stat is basically like the only people who are counted. It's not the entire majority.
Okay,
You say?
thanks.
Is that right?
But I'm pretty sure Destiny has a different answer, so we'll go ahead and hear what he got to say, because he's always right.
Per capita just means like a proportion.
Say it loud so you hear.
Per capita is like a proportion. So if you've got like 80 people and 20 people, but you prevent like 18 of the 20 from doing something, but you prevent 20 of the 80 people from doing something, you're discriminating more against the 18 out of 20, even though you're discriminating against 20 out of the 80 because the percentage is higher, the proportion is higher. It's like a stats thing.
And that's why Democratic policies never work, because they too confused and everybody gets screwed in the end.
What? Because they use stats and data and understand what things mean?
Why did you ask that question? Why did you ask that? He gone? What? Hey, Sal, what made you ask that?
Oh, because they had a disagreement earlier about the per capita numbers.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
All right, thank you, Sal.
All right.
Who else?
Okay. Courtney in Orange.
There's a lag call for you.
Courtney in Orange County, California.
Courtney, you're on the air. Thanks for calling.
We know more than Joe
Hi,
Collins.
thank you.
Easy.
You're welcome.
So I have a question for your people that approve of Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
I would really like to know, why is it that Black Lives Matter only care about when it's a white on black crime, not when it's a black on
Oh my
black
God, this is
crime?
my
Let me
Facebook
do this
timeline.
and then they'll respond to you. Joe have to go. He has another engagement. Joe, before you leave, I want a petition from you because I want it from them as well. Who's going to win, Trump or Joe Biden next Tuesday?
President Trump.
Right on. Thank you for coming, man. Last word? Last word about anything?
Don't worry about what people say about you. If you feel something, just do whatever you feel. Is America, land of the free, home of the brave, except for some people, but who cares, you know? Go check my name. Check my name, all right?
What's your website, Joe?
JoeCollinsForCongress.com. It's all spelled out, no letters. I didn't make it confusing.
Thanks for coming, Joe.
He didn't make his website confusing, guys.
Okay.
He
thank
didn't
you, Joe.
make his website confusing at all.
Who want to respond to
This
that
is not
question?
confusing, right? This
Her
is
name
well
Courtney,
organized.
right?
Yes, Courtney.
All right, so basically, it's not really black on black or white on white. What I've observed is the police against a black individual, you know? So it's like someone that has authority against a black individual.
But doesn't that defeat the purpose of Black Lives Matter, because blacks are killing their own race?
I mean, every race kills their own race. That's a fact.
Yeah, but the Black Lives Matter movement is because Black Lives Matter, correct?
Well, it's
so
like
if
you're
Black Lives
taking-
Matter,
well, they have a
why are African Americans killing their own race?
Everyone kills their own race. Like Europeans killed each other by
But
the
they don't
thousands.
stand up
So
for
it's
it.
like
They
that's a
don't-
whole different argument. So what they're talking about is basically they don't want authority who has been, sworn to protect and serve to kill black individuals like their lives don't matter. That's
Well, she
all
wanna
it's
know
about.
why don't the
so
Black
she's
Lives Matter
no,
stand
but
up
she's
for the
bringing up a
blacks?
different argument, which has nothing to do with their purpose at
no,
all.
but their purpose is the fact that Black Lives Matter. So
But-
if Black Lives matter so much, then you would value your same race and you would do whatever it takes to save that race,
I mean-
instead of only caring about when police or whatnot kill their race. If it's a white person, they care. But you have BLM assaulting other black people. There was just
This is what they'll do, by the way. They'll say Black Lives Matter is an organization and not talk about any of the goals, but then take it completely literally, like Black Lives Matter, and say, like, again, like, oh, this is literal Black Lives Matter. Why don't you talk about the black on black crime?
an incident in LA the other day where a black veteran was assaulted by Black Lives Matter. They stole his Trump or his American flag from him.
Okay.
Why is that tolerated? If you're really standing for something, you should stand for every single black person, not just the black people that are killed by cops.
Yeah, that sounds good to someone that just wants to be right. And you just want to be right. That's all it is. So you're creating an argument in your mind to just sound right to go against Black Lives Matter when you know that's not the purpose. Every single race kills their own race. If you live in a close proximity,
But you don't see a White Lives Matter, do you?
that's not.
Do
but
you see
you're
an
oh my
organization going around saying
So-
White Lives Matter? No,
Okay,
you don't.
it's because we know in America there's no question that white lives matter. The problem with the way that we treat black lives in America is it seems like there is a lack of accountability whenever there would be extrajudicial killings of black men by white cops. That's where BLM came from. It was the holding accountable these police precincts that have a vested interest in protecting their cops when it seems like they can always get away, or a lot of the time get away with murdering black men. Everybody agrees that a black man killing a black man or woman is wrong. Nobody's debating that. Everybody agrees that when a white person is killed, it's wrong. Nobody's debating that. The reason why BLM started was because it seemed like there was an accountability problem with police officers and being held accountable when they killed black people. That was the problem.
Statistics don't actually show that, but I
once
what I
again,
always wonder about
That was good.
Point.
Hold on,
If
Carl.
Black Lives Matter,
Hold on.
you guys,
Hey.
for everyone.
Okay, hold on.
You can't do a movement like
No,
that.
no, no.
I don't.
Ed, you want to respond? Go ahead.
I don't know. I've never understood why when issues
when it's a white cop.
of race come up, when politicians start talking about black people, they always start talking about the criminals. Like they got pictures of George Floyd, who was a criminal, like he's some kind of saint. Why aren't they talking about the majority of people who are good people, hardworking people, and victims? And running, I don't understand why blacks, especially when Democrats talk about, are always talking about criminals. I don't get that. That's not the majority of black people.
George Floyd might have been a criminal, but that doesn't mean he deserves to be executed on the ground
by
cops.
Yes, but it doesn't mean he deserves to be hagiographed.
When you're an activist,
He
you're
wasn't
trying
executed.
he was
Just
executed.
FYI.
He was executed. He did not die of a drug overdose. He absolutely did not. Read the corner. Yeah, watch the video. Have you ever seen somebody die? Have you seen anybody? Nobody that it's. Well, he very conveniently died of a drug overdose. It took 8 minutes while another cop was kneeling on his back. Okay? You can't make a movement and cover every single thing, right? If we say that BLM, well, why don't you care about black-on-black murders? Okay, fine, we do now. Oh, well, why don't you care about black people that die of, the flu? Or why don't you care about black people that die?
Respond to what Andrew said.
I want to know if it's good for people to elevate and make saints out of petty
No
criminals.
one is making a saint out of him. It's the idea that if
pictures
you
of them
mess
with
up in
wings and
America,
halos all
if
over
you
the
mess
place.
up, if you mess up, you don't deserve to be killed by the cops. But that's why BLM started, because it seems like people like you, it seems like people like you will come out and say, well, he was no angel, so maybe the cops should have killed him. But you're asking, like, why are they holding him up? Because it's a person that shouldn't have been killed by a cop without due process.
Put the camera back on me. Oh, but they're not in front of me. Whatever. How do you respond in the black, whenever liberals, especially liberals, black and white, mention black people, it always the criminals that they make the heroes, while the good blacks look like left in the background somewhere. Why are they promoting black criminals over the good blacks? That's what he's asking.
Well, when we're talking about
answer
BLM,
that. No, answer that question.
That's not BLM's job. That's not what Black Lives Matter is
he
about.
want to know, why is it that you people?
What do you mean by that, Jesse?
See? That's racist.
Well, I feel like
why they promote the criminal blacks and not the decent blacks?
Well, the only example that we have based off what he said is the George Floyd incident. So I feel like that's where he's coming from. He's basically saying like all he knows is George Floyd, but who else have they upheld that?
No, I guess this is one of the things I've always liked about Donald Trump is he talks about businesses, he talks about jobs.
Right.
Those are the things that you would think, that I would want to come into my.
Basically, like the liberals don't try to, basically talk about the black upper class.
It's always well, not only upper class or working class. It's always grievance.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right now, the topic has been on criminal justice, which isn't going to affect wealthy people as much, just because that's how it goes, because wealthy people don't typically...
The topic didn't just fall out of the sky. I mean,
no, it was in response to extrajudicial killings of black people by police officers. That's where BLM came from, whether you would agree or disagree with it.
No, I understand. I understand that's where... But
it's not like every single person that's killed by the cops. You have black men that will get killed just for saying they have a firearm in the car, that will get shot by a police officer. Where was the NRA defending that person? Where were Republicans defending that person?
Actually, Republicans did defend that person.
Well, the NRA was very absent in their voices. You can go check their Twitter feed. They have so much to say about gun rights for so many other people.
But all the stats, including stats from liberal studies, show that police use fatal force on white people more than they do on black people.
But there's not a question in this society. When a white person gets killed by a cop, everybody rallies behind the white person, that it's an injustice. But when it's absolutely true, it is absolutely true.
You
can pretend that it's not.
You mean like Tillinger?
You can pretend all you want. You can pretend all you want. What about Ben Shaver? Everybody agreed that was. Well, that's not my fault that you're uninformed, sir. I'm very sorry that I can't help you with that. Meet me after for 30 minutes so we can chat. But when a white man is killed by the cops, most people agree like, oh man, if that was wrong, it was messed up. However, when black people get killed by the cops, we start asking all these questions. Did he have fentanyl in his system? Did he have a rap sheet? Did the guy have a gun on him? Well, he had a gun in his car. We ask all these questions.
Whenever a cop kills somebody, the question is, was he defending his life or somebody else's life? That's the question on anybody.
No.
And yet the riots start before anybody even asks the question or finds out the answer.
The first question is what the black person did wrong.
Riots don't come as a reasoned, proportional response to some perceived injustice. They don't, right? So the language of the unheard, right? Riots are people that feel like they've exhausted all other options. You can laugh. I mean, our lived experience is great when it comes to cops. I mean, I agree with you. It's very hard to relate to. I'm never worried about getting shot when I get pulled over or having a cop profile me.
Oh, the caller's still there.
Oh, sorry. Courtney, what's up?